I think I'm just going to fly from the hip.
3 ball from CG43. They're in front.
This is flat out ridiculous.
From a beautiful left hand, in and out finish, the old-fashioned way.
Newell gets to the basket with one to come. From there again. You have got to be kidding me. Tyson step, wraps it up.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. NBL Pocket Podcast. Long gap in recording. We apologise. We live busy lives. What are we talking about here? We're talking about the MVP, or who we think might get there, the champions. We're going to break down New Zealand and Sydney. We're looking at the NBL app. We're looking at the presses. My name is Joe Court, but more importantly, across the table from me, well, across the country, across the table from me, is Andrew Canyon. Canyon, what's going on?
Gotcha. It's been a long time, hasn't it, mate?
Yeah, like what, a month?
Yeah. I think there's so many other podcasts. We're just we like to pick and choose. It's like the caviar. You don't want it every night, and it just turns up occasionally. And you're like, oh, that's super special.
I think the gap's been that long. I actually more think of it as like a baby in a wicker basket on a doorstep. It's not something you're expecting, but if you give it a little love, it's going to come good, I think. I don't know, probably an obscure reference.
That is very obscure.
Where do you want to start? What do you want to talk
about? Well, let's just get... We got to get off my chest what we've just seen over the last couple of days. Can we just deal with the Bryce Cotton scoring avalanche?
Unbelievable.
Have you ever seen anything like that?
Just the percentage, the shots, the way the ball was. The ball was going in the net like a soccer goal, like a goal in soccer. You know when a guy shoots a soccer ball into the top right-hand corner and it really hangs in the net before dropping down? Cotton was hitting threes and it was like sitting in the net. It was just so accurate. It was just sitting in the net for a second and then it would like drop down through the hole. He was so dynamic. He's just the best. He's the best that's ever been in the NBL, I think.
It's amazing to watch. I mean, and even the 3-point shots that he missed, they didn't miss by much. There was a couple that, rimmed out. There's a couple of, heat check sort of threes that he tried. None of his shots really looked like they were going to miss, even the ones that did. And he had the whole package. Like, so he's hitting threes. He's dancing with the ball. Then he's going to the little, floaters, those ridiculous angled layups. Oh. Like, he just had the whole thing going.
He had it going. Ridiculous. Plenty of free throws. Did you feel like... the free throws. What do you think of New Zealand's defence? Because we're going to contrast this with Bateman's, 51 the day before or the week before, whatever it was. Because I thought, that was an easy 50. I'm not taking anything away from him, but boy, oh boy, look at his highlights. Most of it's at the rim. And he's just laying the ball in a couple of threes. Yeah. His was a remarkable 50-point game in that he greased the pan. It was the easiest ever. But comparing and contrasting those two, Canyon, we spoke about Cotton. What do you think about Bateman in comparison?
Well, I mean, with Cotton, first of all, the defense that was played in him, there's a few efforts that were pretty ordinary, kind of just sort of show
especially as he was approaching the record. New Zealand seemed to be kind of ducking out of the way. I was like, oh, come on. Like, there was a layup that was 2 layups to get him over the thing that were very easy, over the tally.
Sorry. Yeah. But so I don't think the defense was world class, but I think it was probably better than what Bateman faced.
Bateman look at the highlights. There's only 2 or 3 shots where you look at, from Bateman, I mean, 2 or 3 shots where you look at his and go, oh, that was an earned bucket. The rest is just read and react, shake the guy, no help at the hole, or gets there and the help is late, foul and one. Like, it was the worst defensive effort.
And then before that, again, featuring the Wildcats, was Chris Goulding. Yeah,
47.
And that was just a bonkers performance where he just caught absolute fire from 3-point range and still hasn't cooled off. He's been through the fever break. Yeah, still
he's been on fire. He had those, I think the fever break was really good for him. He went over to those games in Asia and played really great, and the hot hand. I mean, when you're playing with confidence, you're confident. He's had a great year.
But this really felt like it was Bryce Cotton saying, all right, everybody's put these scores on the board. I need to respond in kind. It was like, just remind everybody that, hey, I am still the guy. Yeah,
absolutely.
And he is the best. It's amazing.
And it had to be done. It was an interesting time there for a second where you're like, hang on, the highest scorer ever in an NBL game is James Bateman. Like Bateman, actually quite like his game, but you can't have an import like that atop all those names and all those people that have come before him. It was just odd to see. And even the name, James Bateman, it just sounds so vanilla, bless him. But it's not like, Crawford or Grace or McDonald, all those great names we've had, Gaze and all this stuff. And it's bang, Bateman. I was like, oh.
Yeah. Order has been restored.
Yeah, very much so.
If you haven't watched that game, at least watch the highlights. But I think it's always better to watch a game like that. So, and also credit to New Zealand, gave away a few tech fouls, which helped the score tick over.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what about Taco Fall?
Taco
Speaking
falls
of
over.
New Zealand,
He got hurt, right?
Yeah, I don't know how injured he actually is, but I do not understand that. They were going well with Freddie Gillespie, and now they brought Taco Fall in. I don't get it. What's going on there?
We see bigger guys who can't really move really well struggle in the NBL. Joe Chi of China, the fella in New Zealand who was there for a while, Colton Iverson.
Yeah,
these real big bodies that can rack up a few rebounds, but in the pick and roll they just get pulled apart. I never understood the signing. Flashy signing on paper, but this game isn't played on paper. I don't see it.
I don't understand it. So strange one. Freddie Gillespie seemed to be playing pretty well, but
I want to ask you about this season, Kenya. Yeah. So we were talking about before that we had Cotton 59, Bateman 51, Goulding 47. The scoring's been what it's been. We said before how we've been finding this, not to bury the lead, everyone, but Ken, you said it's been a weird season. Do you mean a weird season overall, or a weird season for you and your viewing experience?
I think it's been more for me. It's probably a reflection on me more so than the league. I've probably had more competing interests this year.
Same.
Which has kind of led to probably the podcast fall off as well.
Yeah,
it's just been totally a busy time. But it also feels like the season's flying by. Like we're sort of
flying by.
Like we're more than halfway through already. It's
more,
like, how short is this season? It's like I feel like I'm not getting my I kind of want to pace it out a little bit more, and it seems like every week is an event round. Like okay, it's Heritage round. All right, now it's Indigenous round. All right, next time it's breast cancer round. It's just like, wow, when's it just a normal round?
Yeah. I'm glad to hear you say that the season's moving fast. I mean, there were times when we were doing the pod, when we were doing it either weekly or every second week, and we were just like, this season won't end. And now it's the total opposite. It's flying by. It's been a weird season, and you're right when you say it. I think we've just got different interests. And I'll tell people, I'll be very honest about my viewing experience of the NBL this year. Kane and I were saying it. I watch every Sunday the two games, pretty much 1.5 or those two games from start to finish, and I really enjoy that routine I'm in. And then the other games, I'd be lying if I said I've watched one from pillar to post, start to finish, but I always catch maybe a fourth. Definitely watch some highlights. Definitely check the box score. But I haven't watched many weekday games, and I think it's other interests. But I don't know. I mean, I'd be really interested to hear if other people are finding this season is as good as others and they're enjoying it as much. I mean, I think that little bit of distance for us, Ken, not about you, but that little bit of distance, I've been able to just observe the league, how it just kind of, it does just, the gears just turn over. It just, the rubber meets the road and it just does what it does and keeps going and going and going. I do want to say, though, the app has been especially bad this season. It's never been a blue ribbon app, but the app has been, and the website has been bad, where box scores don't come up, the ticking, as they're live, they don't tick over, no in-game carousel. And what I mean by that is when you log into the app, it should be like when Goulding was going crazy, when you logged into the app, the first thing you should see should be that highlight and the score from that game, and then you swipe off that to get to the calendar and the articles and the blah blah blah. And it doesn't have that, and that's the NBA app has that, and the NBL app doesn't. I feel like it's a real mistake, and the app's been bad. So I don't know who's in programming, but it's dropped off. Have you found the same thing?
I have, yeah. So let me just go back to the watching habits as well. What I've been relying on this time is watching, because I've used Fetch TV to watch it mostly. It's a tight-ass way of getting the ESPN coverage.
Sure.
And it's like a DVR, right? So you kind of record the stream and then watch it later. And I've been making heavy use of delayed telecast, delayed watching, and just fast forwarding, and just going like fast forwarding
forth and
like skipping all.
If
the
I had that option,
free
I'd do a lot
throws,
more of that
it's like 4 times speed.
Oh, you're
up
living the
free
dream, man.
throws.
You're living the dream to just skim through, skip the free throws. Oh, it's a blowout. Out I go. You're living the dream. That's a good way to do it.
It's a good way to do it. But I in previous seasons, I've been able to watch almost every game. There is no way I'm achieving that this year, which is also why probably not podcasting, because I don't feel like
I'd be lying.
Qualified.
I feel like this is very barbershoppy now, and we're kind of getting in and talking a bit of shite. But in years past, we've watched a lot more games and had a lot more authority on stuff. I feel a little bit like a phony, but at least we've been upfront.
And having that distance, like you said before, with the distance, I noticed that. The one thing I noticed, the league is going better than ever, but at the same time, if you don't pay an active interest, it's not bubbling up. Like, so I'm not at work and other people are saying, "Oh, how about that Wildcats game?" Like, if I didn't actively still kind of pay attention to it, I could easily not know there was a season going on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it still isn't not like it's not like footy where everybody, even cricket, still gets an element of respect somehow, like part of the culture.
Yeah, and you'll know who wins the test. Just by osmosis, it'll make its way to you.
Yeah, exactly. So it still doesn't have that.
And that speaks to an active audience. So the NBL's got to know that about itself. It's got people who it's got and that's where it's got to step up its game a bit. It's so hard for the NBL and its media because you're absolutely right, Kenyon. It's that active audience that know the NBL and come to it. So its product needs to be a little bit more, I wouldn't say refined, but it needs to know, like, okay, people coming here are not just people off the street. These are not window shoppers. These people are in the store. We got to give them a little bit finer quality. We got to kind of talk to people like they know what they're talking about. And that's really hard to do that, but then also be accommodating to the newcomer. It's a tough spot. They tread a decent line. I'd be lying if I said I've watched any overtime or anything like that.
Yeah, I've checked out on that as well.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think without Corey, it just kind of doesn't quite have the, I don't know, just doesn't have the vibe of it. Yeah. And he did so much on his personal socials to make that show relevant. And without that, it's and Felix does a good job of it. I'm sure I've seen him host in a few clips that come out well, but Corey just kind of was that show, especially on his socials. And
so getting to the app. And the website, I agree with you. Atrocious. I mean, I was trying to just look at the ladder the other day in the app, and every time I tried it, it crashed.
What's that about?
They've updated the app now, so there was obviously a bug.
There was an updated app. You're right.
But how do you even get to the point where that's released without
mid-season?
Seems like a fairly basic thing to test.
And also, that is the way everything's being consumed in vertical, and I don't think the NBL's quite ticking over. And getting good vertical stuff. And one thing like that is, TikTok and Insta and all that sort of stuff. It seemed better in the past. I don't know if they've cut some corners. I'm not sure.
Just the design of the website and the app. It's a
bit dated, isn't it?
It's kind of it looks a bit old and
sort of carousel of these articles and everything's like. Also, no autoplay stuff. Like, give me a curated experience. When I log into that app. All I want to know is if there's a game on at the minute, I want the latest highlight and the running score. Yeah. And then, we're kind of, I don't know what else, but I definitely want those things.
And if I'm going to have my ultimate whinge, now I'm getting, every year, Joe, I get a little bit older. And I don't like it, but it's happening. And that font that they use for every article, the font, the size is tiny and the contrast is just horrible.
Listen, I wish I could go with you on this one. This feels like a you problem. I don't just bump up the font size, man. I think that gets to a point where everyone's at a certain age where the font size goes up.
It's just, I'm looking at it going, this is terrible. Help me out.
But hey, if people out there, I threw Kenyon under the bus there. People out there, if you have the same issue, hit us at Twitter or X at NBL Pocket Pod if you think the text is unreadable.
Oh, and do you bother signing in to NBL Plus? Like,
I don't know what NBL Plus is, and I don't and haven't, and I don't think you could pay me. I think there's that gag in The Simpsons where the plumber comes, like they made some mistake, and the plumber's like, "Oh, your problem here was just a simple rubber washer. It's 50 cents," and Homer's like, "Get off my property!" And the plumber's like, "Listen, I've got one in my truck. I'll give it to you for free." And Homer's like, "Get my gun!" Like, get. And that's NBL Plus for me. I'm like, you can't sell me that. I've never used it. Do you use it? What is it?
I set up an account, but then I've never logged into it again. Basically, The pitch when I signed up was get all in-depth stats and all that.
Oh.
But I just found it was too much of a hassle, and who cares? So
well, maybe all these issues we've nagged about in the app could be solved with NBL Plus, but if you're not going to integrate it into your... There's no NBA Plus, right? Just put it in your number one app. Give me a break. Yeah. Where do you want to go next? Do you want to talk about the MVPs or the champs? The likely...
Let's talk about MVP, since we talked about Bryce Cotton.
Yeah, well, who do you think's number one or the shortest in MVP voting?
I think it's got to be Jackson Cartwright.
No, it's not. I'll give them to you there. Cotton at $2, Cooks at $3.50, PJC at $4, and then a long distant fourth is Edwards of Cairns, $13.
Did you say Cooks at number 2?
I said Cooks at number 2. 3.5 was number 1 until Cotton's 60-point game of 59.
Oh my God, he's not had a good season. His team's not performing well.
Well, we're going to talk about Sydney a little bit more, but I found that pretty interesting. I'm no surprise Cotton's there, but I actually think they had Goulding at 12th. Like $100, $150 to win or something. Oh, not that high. 45, I think.
Jeez.
I thought he'd be in the top 5 at least. He's had that kind of year, but nowhere near it apparently. That's Sportsbet and TAB, by the way.
I'm sort of thinking Jackson Cartwright, Harrell.
Harrell's not that close. I think Harrell was just after Edwards, maybe 5th or 6th or something.
Yeah, I mean, Bryce Cotton's missed a lot of games. He's had a few really great games, a couple of ordinary ones earlier.
Very ordinary games, yeah.
So I don't see him. I see him in like the top 5, but not really there yet. Jeez, I don't know. Xavier Cooks, I like the way he plays, but he's not been impactful enough this season for me.
We're going to talk about Sydney in depth. I don't want to give my thoughts on that. We'll talk about with Sydney when we talk about Sydney. The champs. Guess who's the championship favourite at the minute?
Melbourne.
Yeah, Melbourne United at $3. Have a guess who's next.
Adelaide.
Illawarra, $3.60.
Oh yeah, of course. Why am I forgetting them? That's who I should have said. Sorry.
That's
Why
a bit
did
of
I
a
forget
bogey
them?
team. And then you got Sydney at $4.30, Adelaide at 11, tied with Perth at 11. So they're the top 1, 2, 3, 5. Do you agree with that top 5? Adelaide? Do you think Adelaide are the 4th best team?
Well, I like Adelaide.
I like Adelaide. I don't think they're for real at all. At all.
They can put together a game. Though.
I don't think they can put together shit. Unless you're talking about a conga line into the stands. I don't see this at all. I don't. Wow. I think they're so unruly and don't play a lick of defense. And their 2 imports have just got that team in the chokehold. They can do whatever they want.
Oh, totally,
and they're real
totally.
good. They're
That's
really
the charm
good.
of it.
That's the charm of it. And I love watching them play. When I see them on the schedule, I'm excited, especially when those 2 are playing. So we'll check back in with them in a couple of weeks. But they're not legit. They're not legit at all.
No, you're probably right. Illawarra, I can't believe I forgot them. That's they're
$3.60, second championship favourites. Do you think they're legit?
Yes, they're really good.
Over Sydney?
Yeah. You've got teams where they just seem to like jive.
The confidence,
and get along.
man. The jive.
It just seems like, they all understand what each player needs. It doesn't seem like there's anybody who hates another guy on the team.
No. And the role definition on that team, like guys come off the bench, like Lee comes in and you just know he's going to score between 8 and 15 points, a decent clip. And guys coming off that, but they're tough.
It's the first season I've seen Tyler Harvey actually like realize that he's got teammates around him that can make him better.
Kel was the signing for me. I even more so than Days. I think Kel is bigger body, does everything. I didn't know he was this good.
He's
good. Like he had that first year where he was hurt in Southeast Melbourne. Yep. Then he went to Adelaide. Very hard to get a sense of an import in Adelaide. And now he's just this under control, score it, kind of defend, do a bit of everything, big body. I'm
great shooter. Just knocks it down.
I'm a fan of his game.
Yeah, I really like him.
I'm glad the league, I know he went to 3 different teams in 3 years, but I'm glad the league kind of persisted with him and that he persisted with the league. He's been fun to watch.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah.
So Melbourne are like, fair enough, they should be the favourites. I still have a few question marks over them. But
what question marks do you got? Because I've got question marks. What question marks do you got?
I just think they're front line. Like, you get past Jack White, and then you're relying on Rob Lowe. And I don't know, Marcus Lee, he's a bit foul prone.
And when a guy can't hit free throws, I'm like, you can't play at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And he wasn't going to if Rob Lowe hadn't fouled out against Sydney.
Yep.
So I'm like, can't hit free throw. And he is a very shaky foul shooter. So
Yeah.
But you were saying?
But no, so I just wonder if their front line could be, perhaps taken advantage of. Having said that, who's going to do it other than maybe Illawarra with theirs? Nobody else has really got a,
I want to make the case for Sydney, but I don't want to do it just yet. I want to talk about Melbourne. For me, the question mark is the scoring droughts. And it didn't really come up against Sydney. I mean, they still put up a lot of points, but at times I was like, wow, they're getting real found offense. Like, there's no one able to manufacture anything. And Clark still, to me, has never quite found his footing with this team, despite, did they win a championship with him or go to the grand final? Yeah, they won a chip with him. He's never quite sort of got his game going. And even against Sydney, when Sydney did this major comeback, and on the road, I want to say, major comeback, and Melbourne were just, they couldn't get any points, and they got bailed out by the refs a lot. And I'm not an NBL ref conspiracy theorist, but Shayley, the amount of times he'd just drive into traffic, do those like slow, when when the guys, the slow 2-step to the pickup, and then just throw up shit and get bailed out. It just happened so many times. I was like, refs, you're getting sucked into this. You're keeping them alive. And without those couple of free throws in crucial moments, the tide was totally against them. And then Goulding went chasing a look and threw one off the backboard from like court to court. And I was like, this is a team that, without the refs helping them today, they are broken. So I have not a huge question, but I have a pretty big question about the droughts of that team. Whereas I don't see that from Illawarra, and I strangely don't see it from Sydney as well, or Perth scoring really, but Perth just don't play any D. But
no.
Let's change gears a little bit. I want to talk about New Zealand, who are 7 wins, 5 losses. Simple question: are New Zealand for real?
No,
me neither. Why do you say that?
And particularly not since this joke of a Taco Fall signing. It feels like it's a stunt. It's a stunt move, and I reckon they lost the team.
I don't think Gillespie was setting the world on fire, but he was clearly the better pro.
Yes, yeah, and more suitable to what the team was trying to do and the league.
For sure.
I mean, has Matt Mooney had a good game since Taco Fall has come in? No, I think Gillespie set some good screens for him and then roll off it, give Mooney a bit more space. It just seems like everybody's, apart from PJC, they've all sort of fallen away.
He's incredible, by the way. You're right when you say it. He's right there in the MVP conversation. He's just like, he had 30 points and 12 assists against Perth the other night. New Zealand were in that game when they had no right to be in it. Perth just don't play any Perth just don't play any defense.
They're just. It's like the Melbourne Tigers from many years ago. They're just going to try and outscore you.
And Cotton had 60, and the 60 never threw dirt on the breakers. They were always still hanging around. So it's just, as much as the 60 was great, or 59, pardon me, was exciting and everything. I was still like, this Perth team, gosh and bother.
But no, and with the breakers as well, I don't yet trust Menenga.
No, neither.
In those big moments, I just think he might have some good players, but I still just don't. I'm not there. I'm not going to rely on him as one of my key guys.
Can I tell you why I say no to this team being for real? I've got to give you a bit of a sort of NBL Melbourne-centric, not conspiracy theory, but maybe a bit of, I'm going to kick a little dirt. They beat Melbourne 113-79 a couple of rounds ago. And I just think everyone lost their biscuits over that, because everyone who comments on this league is typically in Melbourne, and I don't think I'm saying anything out of school when I say that the huge orbit of this league is around Melbourne and therefore Melbourne United. Yep. And I think they beat that team big, and that's just where everyone kind of, that's the calibration for everyone. That's the team that they go and watch live and they understand that they're good because they are good. And then, oh wow, like that. It meant so much more beating Melbourne by that much. And I think everyone kind of lost their keen eye for the game and got thrown off by that. That's what I think, because I don't see it.
You're right. That
if they'd beaten Illawarra by that amount, there wouldn't have been the sort of like, and recalibrating where they put Parker Jackson Cartwright and the rankings and blah, blah, blah. There wouldn't have been that kind of overreaction. But because it was Melbourne in Melbourne, and you got to ask Melbourne about Melbourne, they jumped up in a lot of people's estimation. That's my thought.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point.
I want to jump on. Oh, you got
hang on.
Yeah,
I just want to I know I'm flogging the dead horse, but
do it.
I this Freddie Gillespie Taco Fall, just real quick, right?
Yeah.
Just looking at the stats, Gillespie played 9, Taco Falls played 2. Okay, so it's early times. And they were talking, I think the talk was Gillespie was not that productive, so it's kind of a reason to move him on. He was getting 6.9 points a game. Taco Falls getting 5.5. It's like rebounds, Freddie Gillespie's getting 5.3. Taco's at 3.5. All right, and then blocks. Okay, Taco Falls getting 3 blocks a game, but Gillespie was giving you a 1.8. Is it really worth it? It wasn't worth it.
No,
Bad
it wasn't.
decision.
I think it's a cost-saving measure, and it's just Gillespie just had the body for the NBL from 11 fall, and also probably got the guy on the cheap because he's half hurt. He was hurt when they tried to play with him in the USA, and now he's hurt again. It's like never bet against health in the NBL. That's a little keynote speech from Dan Ewing. I want to talk about Sydney.
Okay,
Sydney Kings, 8-7. They are third to win the third favourite to win the whole thing. Do you think that's justified?
Like, in a way, yes, because you just see the potential. You're like, they've got such a good squad, like a deep squad. They should be favourites, but the way they play, it's just clunky. And you know what? It's the way they're coached. That's clunky as.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Yeah.
So, I think they're definitely a playoff team, or maybe the play-in tournament team, if you want to put it that way.
Oh no, I think they're. I'll let you finish, but yeah.
But semi-final level team at the moment, and that's about as far as I would predict they would go. They just don't have the cohesiveness that I'd be wanting to see.
I think they're really good, and I think they're going to be. I think they're going to be knocking on the door of the grand final. And here's why I say that: they've played 10 games on the road, of which they've won half of them. Now Perth's record on the road is like 1-6, I think, or 1-5. 1 win, 5 losses.
Yeah.
Melbourne United. Guess how many? If I say to you the Sydney Kings have played 10 away games, how many away games do you think Melbourne have played?
Oh, let's see. Maybe 4?
5. So half.
But 2 of them are probably against Southeast Melbourne.
Exactly. Yeah, something like that. So it's like, and winning on the road is tough in the NBL. Whether it's against Cairns, Southeast Melbourne, it's tough. And they're 5-5, and I respect an away record that's at parity. That's a sign of a pretty good team, especially one that's been through a few ups and downs. The coaching, man, what happened in that game against Melbourne? The seniors moment where they give an 8-second violation with a minute left.
Yeah,
what happened there? And in fairness to Goulding, he came out and said, "Yeah, that's on me. I was talking to Adams." That is not on Brian Goulding. He did that to help his player. That's on Jalen Adams. He was trying to call a timeout, thinking you could call one on the floor. He fucked up. Sorry for language. That Goulding, that's a true captain. He took it on the chin for his grunt there, his soldier. Yeah. And then the rotation when Cam Oliver wasn't in the game for the 3-point shot they needed. I was like, what the fuck? On the floor was like, I can't remember who was on the floor, but it was whoever.
Bruce and
then Bruce had a good little game and then decided to go off half-cocked and chuck up shit with 4 seconds left. It was a bizarre showing, but I still think I just thought Adams was so good. He shot, and he wasn't good all game, but when it got down to the crunch, he made this wrap-around pass to Cooks late in the game. He made these 2 threes that were massive. And I just thought, no, this team has had a really tough schedule. And did you, by any chance, have you watched any presses this year? And
I think I've watched 2.
Which ones did you watch? Goulding's one recently?
No.
He just went hard on the schedule. And he's got an absolute point because they were up in Cairns a day ago and then they're back down and they get an early 2:30 start. It's all a bit pissy and moany, but I think he had a point. And when you say, we said at the top of the program, you thought that the season has gone fast. Is it the same sort of schedule? Have you felt? I feel like maybe something's.
I think it has. I think they did shorten the schedule.
They shortened it. They added games with the Perth thing, and it feels tight. And we've said how quickly the season's gone. So,
Perth had a doubleheader at home. Like that's two home games in one weekend, just the last couple of days.
Yeah,
like that never happens.
That never happens. So it's been we were paid to think about this pod a bit more and do some research. That's for other people. But people still put out the same shitty pod as us. But it's definitely been condensed, and it shows, and that's why I think Sydney are good. They've played 10 away games. They've got the skill. They're going to put it together. Bruce has come back into the lineup, which I actually don't hate, but I don't think it'll last. I don't know. And then Oliver, eventually I think they're going to piss around with Oliver, and then when it comes down to winning time, he's going to play 32 minutes a game, you know.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I'm in on Sydney. Have I changed your mind at all? Not really.
Not really. You mounted a good argument, but you haven't changed my mind. So let me give you the counters. Okay,
yeah, give me the counter. Give it to me.
So you've got Xavier Cook, who's theoretically a league MVP.
Sure.
And he's middling for an MVP contender. You know, he's 15 points a game. Like, he has moments where he looks really impactful and bouncy, and then he just kind of disappears for a while. It's almost like, it's not my turn now. Now it's Cam Oliver's turn, you know, and he'll start. And Cam Oliver's just become a total, like, 3-point perimeter player.
In fairness, I do agree. I mean, I haven't seen many big dunks from Oliver this season. One or two.
No.
But there was a time where he was pretty much every game he was.
He just doesn't seem to have an appetite for attacking the rim.
A bit of an appetite. Also, Adams is a very different player to Machado. Machado was a pass-first guy, and Adams is not like that. Adams likes to get in the middle of the floor, slow down, and do that push shot. Whereas Machado was looking to come off and throw it over his left shoulder for an alley-oop.
Yeah,
very different player. And it's shown, but I in that way, I actually don't hate the style of it. Yeah, go on.
Okay. So, and then you've got Bull Quall.
Got hurt. I mean, here's the thing. They play Melbourne. Goulding goes off for 27. Bull Quall's sitting there. That was his defender. I mean, with Bull Quall in the game, they probably win.
I don't know. He just hasn't really come along. Like, it's not the Bull Quall that was showing up in Cairns. You know, it's
Agreed.
a totally different guy. He was like a 3-point weapon.
Yeah, 3 and
D. And now it seems like he's sort of just become defender, but
he get the same sort of output from, say, a Swaka the Bullock. And that's not putting him down. But there was a time when Quall was both ends, and now he's kind of just one end,
Yeah. I think they had a bit of a sugar hit with Kelly LePepe early. Seemed exciting.
I never saw him as a starter. The line, and then Tui, I've just never seen it in Tui either.
I don't mind Tui, actually. I think he's one of the ones that is okay, and I can see. I'd like to see them maybe trying to utilize him a little bit more.
I just don't. I don't like the D. I just think he's too slow. But Quite Noise, a guy I'd prefer to roll the dice on. I just think when he catches fire, he can really stretch the floor for him.
I think that's it. I think Kawhi is that X factor guy, right? He's a total black hole. Like, as soon as he catches the ball, it's going up. But I think you've got to kind of accept that and just roll with it. I just feel like this team. It almost feels like they've been Gorgianed too hard. It's like all the flavor and all the charisma has been sapped out of it.
I agree with that.
To play that Gorgian hardcore kind of stuff,
and it's not them.
It's not them. No, they need to be more flamboyant.
He's been pissing around with the lineups a lot, and I think that comes from a few injuries and the amount of away games. But so let's talk about the coaching. So I found him. There were seniors moments in this game, kind of belligerent, where just things didn't make sense, and we kind of got glimpses of it at the World Cup.
Just not understanding like the situation, clock score situation. And just kind of like not understanding the rules sometimes.
Like, mate, kind of pick your lineup, and at this point you should know your lineup with that team. But the changes have been erratic, and like Bruce from no minutes to then 25 last game.
Well, it seems like he's sort of outsourced his substitution patterns as well. Like, he gets the assistant coaches involved in a lot of that. And it's like, why? I don't understand that.
Neither do I.
So I think this. I just think Gorgian and they've got him for 3 years now, right? This is
That'll
year one
take
of
him to
the
his
three.
80th birthday, won't it?
Yeah, it's
No, I
like
think
watching
he's early 70s.
It's like watching Joe Biden.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to think who would you gorge and who would you pardon? Who's committed the most crimes this on the floor? Can't think. You at home, get at us on Twitter at NBL Pocket Pod. Where do you want to talk about next? Do you want to talk about the suspensions and the fight, or do you want to talk about the Larry Kesselman puff piece?
Let's do the fight.
The fight. All right. So we're going back a bit. This has been a big thing coming. But were you watching live? This is one I was watching live. I don't know.
No, I wasn't. I watched it later.
I did watch it live, and I can tell you, Harrell was going at anyone. It didn't matter. He was pissed. He was pissed off. He came down the floor. His last 3 plays leading up to when he went into the stands, I don't care what anyone says, he broke the wall. There's no doubt about it. He threw a bow at, I want to say Bowen. Then Rob Lowe gave him the shove. When Rob Lowe kind of flopped, but didn't do anything major, kind of fell on him. Like, that's a play that there's no malice there, I didn't think. Then he's giving the Illy the punch in the face, and then he's gone into the stands. I was like, Harrell got 3 games and a $3.5 grand fine. I think he got away. I think that's an amazing result for him. I wouldn't have been surprised if it was 10. He pushed a fan and instigated a fight, crossed the line, when easily he could have gone, hey, that guy said something out of bounds or even racist. Like, yep, security, that's the guy there. Yep, deal with him. That's what every NBA player does. It's kind of pathetic, but that's just the world we live in. And instead, he broke the cardinal rule. He's a very lucky man. I spoke a lot. What do you think?
Well, I want to ask you something about him in his NBA stint. Was he known for being a bit of a hothead in the NBA?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah,
not to this degree, not with fans and everything, but
no, sure. But he seemed like he.
Oh,
it almost
so
seems like
rattled.
He's created this persona, or it is his persona, where he's just such this high energy guy. It's almost like he can't step himself off from that, and so it just goes over the top. I mean, you don't. It's just the whole thing. Like, even the fight to begin with on court, I didn't even think there was that much in it.
There was nothing in it.
Like, and then the fact
everyone was sort of slamming Illy and saying, "Oh, I didn't get much of a suspension." I'm like, you didn't really do much. Came over to support the player, gave him a shove. Harrell was just looking for it. I really believe that Harrell was looking for it with anyone and everyone. But sorry,
and I don't know why. I don't know what a fan could have said to the extent that caused him to fly off the handle.
This
like that.
racial thing is interesting because one minute the CEO of the NBL says it did happen, and then it kind of gets deleted, and they say it didn't, or unsubstantiated, or blah blah blah, was or wasn't. Apparently, the guy sitting there is a guest of the NBL and all this sort of stuff, and so we still don't know half of it. We probably never will. I've heard rumors, but nothing substantiated. But what else do you think?
But well, I mean, having said all that, I think the punishments, like you said, they could have been worse. I certainly don't think that they were too harsh on anybody.
No, I think they're strangely in a good place where it's like, okay, maybe something bad was said. I mean, 3 games is not very much.
The thing that cracked me up is like, what is the NBL doing? So basically, I saw a social media post where the NBL created one of those graphic banners, and it's they're quoting out a tweet or something from Harrell. And it was him shit-canning the league.
I did see that.
And I'm like, why are you... Like, talk about a cell phone. Why are you promoting the fact that this international basketball player is saying how shit you are?
Well, are you sure it was a league-sponsored thing, though?
Well, as far as I perceived it was. Because it was like, this is what Harrell... look at what Harrell had to say. I was like, wow.
I vaguely remember this now. It was like, why?
You guys are idiots.
I must say, his tweets are indecipherable to me. I'm like, what? But yeah, I think you may be right.
Maybe that was the social media intern had the same thing. He's like, he mentioned the NBL. Let's put it up.
No one's like, I'm not gonna make the joke I want to make, but I think it's hard to read those ones. And then, well, actually, can we dial it back maybe a month ago before we? It comes back to that Jack McVeigh thing. Remember when the NBL put out that video that was like, Jack McVeigh, hearing rumours the guy's going to get shit canned any minute now. I was like, what? Imagine if that, and this is what I wanted to say about that. This is a while ago. I'm reminded of notes we took ages ago.
Yes.
Imagine if you're the agent of Jack McVeigh and you've had a relationship with the NBL and the Jack Jumpers, and you're like, what the fuck is this? What? You can't speculate about my clients. Like, this, what the fuck? First of all, it diminishes his asking price if people think he's coming back or whatever else, and NBA, blah, blah, blah. Secondly, I'll just say this. If that was a Moldovan client, a Lighthouse client, first of all, the NBL would never, never, and if they did, that would be the swiftest reprimand. It'd be deleted tomorrow. You'd never know what happened.
Yeah.
And instead it stayed up. I was shocked to see that go up. And listen, it hasn't proved to be right thus far, but they did say Christmas is when he could be back. But I just thought that was in sour taste. And now when you talk about Harrell and sort of shitting on the league and doing those tweets, I'm like, yeah, you got to start thinking a bit more with those ones.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think about the McVeigh one?
Yeah, I thought it was just weird. I mean, I just think they celebrate these guys.
Yeah, getting over
and push them. You know, it's like, oh, look, you know, we're the second best league in the world.
Feeder league. Oh my God. Yeah, 6 NBL players on the court at one time, but we kind of hope one gets fucking shit canned and comes back. Oh my God.
Yeah. It's a bit awkward.
Very. And then Davis got the 2 games and a bit of a fine. You were happy. What about Illy only getting the sort of $500 fine for? He was the third man in.
Look, I think, I don't really have a problem with that one for Illy. I thought that's fine in the context, but Illy just seems to get away with shit all the time. Like,
big time.
There are so many plays that if anybody else did it, they would be, looked at. They'd be unsportsmanlike fouls, intentional, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
They'd be, ejected. He just has this, because his reputation is always a hard nut, tough defender. He just does dangerous shit.
I mean, he's learned from the best, right? I mean, Dalvadova's country Vic doesn't get any more filthy. You got to put your jockey in a vice trap. They're real sort of grab your balls type guys. I'm playing it; they're horrible. And he still does that sort of, maybe not that sort of stuff, but certainly the sort of dive into the legs and all that sort of stuff. That's what they eat that for breakfast, those two. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's not pretty to watch either. And it's really quite obvious. And you'd hope some referees would kind of go, we know what you're up to. Like, cut it out, will you? But they don't.
No.
They don't. The fan got a lifetime ban. What do you think?
Was it 10 years or a lifetime? Like,
the fella in the hoodie got the lifetime, and then the other one got the 10 years. Okay. Lifetime ban, so you can never come back to the NBL. That's pretty crazy.
I want to know how they're going to enforce that.
I know, that's a very good point. How do you go from courtside? Like, you can't get any closer to an NBL game to never in your life. Like, imagine when he's 80 years old, blowing out the candles. He's like, oh, what's that? Melbourne are playing Sydney tonight? That'd be nice. Nope. Like, give me a break. That'd be a great TikTok if the guy could make it and chart his success getting back in, like in the upper deck.
I give it 4 years. 4 years and they'll have forgotten about it, him. The entire staff will have turned over by that point, and he'll be back in.
And also, you just book under a different name. Like, what? You don't have to show ID when you buy these tickets. Just don't wear that exact outfit, the grey hoodie and the whatever.
I just see it at the entrance of every door at John Cain Arena. It's the picture of the guy in a hoodie. It's like,
oh, dear. What, yeah, so he got the lifetime ban. I mean, what did you think when it went into the stands and the push? Like, did you think the players were?
Oh, look, it's never a pretty look. It looks horrible. It always takes me back. I remember when I was a little kid, being in I was in a Hungry Jack's store, and I was a little kid, probably six years old, and it was a Hungry Jack's in a dodgy part of Perth.
Sure.
I'm going to name it. It was in Cannington.
Oh yeah,
bloody
okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So that, and a fight broke out. Right.
Wow.
And these two dudes were like laying into each other. I still remember they were punch. Yeah, they're just punching each other. It's like they're probably wasted. Who knows? Yeah. But as a 6-year-old, I just remember being absolutely freaked out.
Terrified, yeah.
Terrified. And I always, whenever I see anything of that kind of unexpected violence in any kind of way like that, I always think of the kids that are around there. And I could just imagine how frightening it must be. Because you're kind of at this entertainment thing. You're just having fun. And then all of a sudden, there's like genuine biffo in a really odd context.
Thank God no punches were thrown. It was a lot of posturing. But I think the guy was the first one to push. I mean, Vasiljevic, everyone was really piling on Illy. Oh, third man in. Vasiljevic was the third man in with the crowd. He comes running over, puffing his chest out to take the little push. Then there's a minor push. Then there's a major push. Then the hoodie goes up and over, and the guy walks off. So not a lot was made of him. I don't think he deserved a fine or a suspension, certainly not. But just to talking to you like, hey, we saw you like throw yourself in there when you could have been peacemaker. You chose to do the opposite. We're watching you. Don't be a dick. We know what's going on. Come on. But yeah, a bit of a dark day for the NBL. Great content day. I mean, you hate to see it, but won the content day. People, it was on the newspaper, in the news, blah blah blah. People kind of liked it.
Yeah, people love a bit of controversy.
Mm-hmm. So, and then, but we haven't had the players coming out, which is the lamest argument the players like to make sometimes on Twitter, which is like, well, can't fine it if you're going to promote it. And it's like, yeah, but they can report it and whatever else. So
and that's where you have this conflict of where the NBL does so much of its own media work.
Totally.
It's like, what is league? At least like that podcast you mentioned with the CEO. Now, so I'm listening to the league interview its own boss, right? On a podcast, and I'm meant to think that these questions haven't been pre-vetted. Like, come on, it's just pathetic. Like, don't do that.
They're damned if they do and don't, right? And that's where this line of being welcoming to the newcomer, but providing something legit for your rusted-on active fans that come to the league. It's a tough spot. Yeah. Speaking of tough spots, this puff piece about the woman who's LK's mother, and that, I mean, give me a break. I mean, bless her. I'm sure she's a lovely woman, and I like Larry, but that just you can't put that sort of shit in front of me, and you can't do that. That's just despicable.
I haven't read it.
I haven't read it. I've just sort of seen it, and oh no.
Just like, no, I'm just not going to do it, okay?
We've had these before, like the guy who saved basketball, and whether that title is, it's probably pretty true, but at the same time, it's just like, oh, I don't want to hear this. This is gross. This is sort of self-promotion. It's just embarrassing. Yeah. It's thinly veiled self-promotion.
It's just, it feels like every season there has to be some, like, we always joke about, don't we? There's got to be some, like, Kesselman... Save the league, bloody legend.
Just the ding, the ring of the bell, and you've got to drop pens and stand up, hand over heart, and bow towards Albert Park. Tough pill to swallow.
So I should read that article, but
nah, you can't. Just the headline, and I sort of skimmed through the video, and I just was like, oh, yuck.
There's a video?
Yeah, there's there's a video, pal.
Of course there is.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a video.
Okay. Okay.
There's a video. I want to get, we're wrapping up pretty soon. We're at, 48 minutes, yeah. We've got a question here.
Tweets.
Tubby brand ambassador says, might seem small, but NBL should stop the trend of losing coaches doing the press conferences solo. The amount of times I've had a result spoiled by seeing the thumbnail of a presser and a coach is on his Jack Jones, so you know his team got rolled. Or, amazing phrasing. Tubby, you just got yourself a follow back, pal. Right now, it's happened. Or just change the thumbnail, which is a very good point from Tubby Tubby, brand ambassador. Thoughts, cares, concerns? Kate?
That is a really good... He's kind of screwed it for me now because now I'm not going to unsee that.
I know.
So
it's actually thanks very much, Tubby.
But what I hate is like, so as somebody who's been watching these shows on replay more often than not, you cannot watch the second game of a night first without them spoiling the score.
Oh, always.
Like you have, if you want to watch two games in a night and you're on delay, you've got to do it in order. Yeah. Otherwise, you're you're stuffed. Because they'll talk about it, or they'll have the little ticker at the bottom of the score. Previously tonight, I'm like, why? Why did you tell me that?
Why do that?
Like, I guess it's a live. They're focusing on the live audience, aren't they? And people don't go back and watch, so it's probably sensible. But it pisses me off, just like it pisses Tubi off. Tubi brand ambassador. Yeah. So. Is that like the TV?
I think so. That
streaming
free,
channel?
Yeah, that free ad-assisted television, Fast TV. Where it's,
I tried. Hey, okay. Now, if we're talking about that, I'm sure that is one of the sites that I tried to log into at one point, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. There's either that or that Australian one. Maybe it was the Australian one.
There's Tubi,
Brolly.
there's Crackle, or Brolly.
Yeah, I tried Brolly, and I couldn't actually figure out how to log into the bloody thing.
Oh, you got me. I
gave up on
it. Brolly.
Yeah, it's some Australian TV shows.
Yeah, wow.
I'm sure it was called Brolly, something like that.
No, you've stumped me. Canyon, I've got Twitter in my right hand. I'm trying to work out if there's anything else worth chatting about, but I really think.
Are we still doing the Twitter thing, or we moved on from that?
That's all we got, man. No one gave a shit. They've had 3 weeks to give us questions. I did put the post up ages ago, but people are just like, no.
We need to put it.
I know.
We're not doing Blue Sky. Like, I've been trying Mastodon. You know I've been pushing Mastodon for a long time.
Yeah, it's like there's this. Did you say Blue Sky? Isn't there this
Blue
new
Sky?
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's the new. That's the new Twitter.
Well, I'll start a new Twitter. Do you think it's worthwhile? Like Threads was a dud.
Threads is crap. Yeah,
but Blue Sky, you think's different? You think
I'm quietly hopeful about Blue Sky. It seems to be close enough to Twitter that people understand what's going on.
Right.
Which is a help. Mastodon didn't do any favors in that regard.
Yeah, Mastodon, little not so user friendly.
Little nerdy. But yeah, I think Blue Sky has a chance. So there's a few. Like when I say few, I found like 5 NBL people on there.
Yeah.
So
I just think Twitter's first to market, or X. I'll say this: Twitter's changed, and it's actually a huge problem for the NBL. There was a time before the Elon Musk, purchase, where Twitter was a really good place for the NBL. I remember logging in to the app on my NBL Pocket Pod account, and it would just feed me what I wanted, which was basketball results, bit of NBA, bit of EuroLeague, but 3/4 of the content I got was NBL. Yeah. And talk and chat, and as a result, I very rarely missed anything. Now on that feed, I get mainly probably 50%, 25% nudity, or like thirst traps, 25% fights, and then a hodgepodge of sort of American politics, and then a tiny bit of NBL. So it's a huge problem for the NBL. It may sound trivial, but I really don't think so, because I really think Twitter is the best place for sports discourse, and especially for kind of NBL, kind of, you need that fan-driven interaction. And Twitter's just dropped off so much in my estimation that it's a problem for the league. Now, you haven't been on Twitter in a long while, but maybe have you heard rumblings of this? Or
Well, yeah. I've heard a bit about how the algorithm got tweaked, certainly during the US
election was
cycle.
ridiculous. It has recalibrated itself since then, but not totally and not fully and not exactly.
And it doesn't surprise me, but it's... I guess it's Twitter's going to be here, or X is going to be here to stay now, because it's going to get plenty of government support from the US. So,
that's the thing, right? Yeah, actually, that's for a different.
It's not going anywhere.
No, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
speaking
I
was going to say, speaking of not going anywhere, we're going to dash. It's 53-minute long pod. This is people are getting a good chat. They can enjoy it.
Yeah, I need to go to the toilet. So,
well.
This is the content that people tune in for.
Yeah, for sure.
Give them what they want. To our loyal Patreon members,
all 25. We appreciate that shit. No one dropped off in the time we didn't record.
That's ridiculous. If that had been, I would have.
Are you kidding? And I wouldn't have felt bad about anyone if they had just dropped off without even saying anything. Or even if they said, you know what, screw you guys, you're sitting on your coit. I would have been like, yep. Yeah. Jump off, I understand, but no one did. So you're absolutely
just remember, it's like I said earlier in the show. It's like caviar, like your cost per pod has gone up.
Yes,
but the value is still right there.
I'd like to think the community's still good. Have you been on the Discord recently? I haven't been in there in ages.
Discord, I still do the Discord. I do the Discord daily.
Good,
That's
man.
part of my routine.
So I do the Twitter, you do the Discord. This is Division 11.
Yeah. I like the Discord.
It's always been fun.
We probably should promote it more. Join the Discord.
Yeah.
Get to it from from our website, nblpocketpodcast.com.
Yep, I think the link's in the show notes.
Oh, I'm sure it is as well.
Yeah, and the Patreon and all that sort of stuff. Honestly, people, if you're thinking about becoming a patron, probably don't. We're not uploading enough to... I'm just being honest. We don't upload enough. If you're on there, maybe probably hang around. You're part of the gang. But if you're really thinking about signing up, I'd feel like we're shortchanging you. But if you really want to, of course you can. But that's my sales pitch.
This is an amazing sales pitch.
Well, it's just honest. I think people appreciate the authenticity. I would hope so. All right, Canyon. Well, this was fun. Long time coming. We should do it more often. Not just
Indeed,
because it's the loyal, proper thing to do to the Patreon list followers, but just in general.
Yeah. Well, that's it.
Ciao.
NBL Pocket Podcast out.